How's it going, everybody? It's Wardy here, and in our late night Big Mets updates video that we have for each and every one of you, we have to highlight the very encouraging news for the New York Mets and their continued pursuit of Roki Sasaki, the Japanese phenom coming over from the Japan Pro Baseball League. From there, we're going to get into Alex Bregman, the latest on his market, and how the Mets are now more favored than ever before, one could rightfully argue. But why exactly is that is what we're going to highlight right here, right now, everybody. So let me see the initial reactions down below to the latest on Roki and Bregman, and how the two players have not both themselves. What is your optimism or pessimism level of the Mets bringing or not bringing these players in this offseason? And folks, before we get into it all, shout out to our amazing sponsor at BetUS, but shout out to each and every single one of you amazing Mets fans for the continued support here, as we have now hit, yes, 30,000 subscribers. That was our end of the year goal. We absolutely smashed that. Thank you guys so much to all of our OG followers who have been subscribed since the start of December 2020. Fast forwarding 4 years later now, if you are a newcomer, thank you so much for taking the time to ingest our content here on WardyNYM, where we have you covered with the Mets on everything regarding the Metropolitans, all in season and off season long. And as a sincere thank you to each and every one of you, heading into 2025, I will be giving away to one lucky subscriber a Juan Soto jersey. Yes, you heard that correctly, folks. You see it beside me. And all you have to do to enter for your chance to win this Juan Soto jersey, whatever color that I could get my hands on for you, whatever size is preferable for you, all you got to do are the following steps. One, make sure you're subscribed to the WardyNYM platform. And two, make sure you are chiming into our live stream on January 7th. Mark the date, mark the calendars, everybody. Barring changes, January 7th, as I do my typical evening live streams on the latest in Metsland and news and rumors, I will then break down and quickly pick a random subscriber that's commenting in the live chat of our live show, and whoever I randomly pick on, I'm going to look away and just literally just hit bam, and whoever I click on is who will be the lucky winner. From there, I will get your information through email, and we will hook you up with a jersey like we have done plenty on the past, with a Brandon Nimmo jersey in the past, I believe, signed. We've given away a Francisco Alvarez jersey in the past, Francisco Lindor, so many others, you name it. Juan Soto is added to the list. Thank you guys so much for the support, and now let's get into breaking down the latest here, Metsland, everybody, because we're not even going to go to our typical sponsor read like we typically do to begin the show. No, we're going to actually start by talking about the latest here, Metsland, and my big question each and every one of you, first and foremost, is, folks, which free agent back duo should the Mets land? Shout out to my amazing editor, Jacob, there on X, for chefing this one up for me earlier today. But out of Alonso, Bregman, Santander, and Winker, the four core bats that the Mets are currently connected to, barring changes, which two out of the four do you think are most likely to land with the Mets? Which two out of the four do you hope land with the Mets? And could you see a world where the Mets land three out of these four batters? Let me know in the comments down below, everybody. I'd love to hear it. But what I also love hearing is the latest on the Japanese phenom himself, that being in Roki Sasaki, folks. So let's get into the latest news on Roki. Heard from Joe Wolf today. Joe Wolf, who is Roki Sasaki's agent, who is also famously known as the same agent that represents Kodai Senga for our New York Mets. Roki, who has been noted for really admiring the Mets pitching lab, headlined by Jeremy Hefner, now Desi Driscoll, coming from the Yankees organization, and everyone else in company that they have there from Port St. Lucie up in that lab, having that familiarity with Joe Wolf, Kodai Senga, who really worked out well, had a Cy Young caliber year in his rookie year with the Mets there back in 2023, handling a six-man rotation to then a five-man rotation, getting adjusted at the major league level and in Flushing, Queens, as well as Kodai did. To have that man in this rotation only bodes the Mets well, in my humble opinion, and their pursuit here of Roki Sasaki, a fellow countryman, as long as he isn't one of these stubborn Japanese players that say, oh, a fellow countryman is in this rotation, no, I want to go elsewhere where I am an anomaly. There are some players that are like that, but from my understanding, I think that's more of an old school mindset and doesn't really hold true with a lot of younger players in the game today. But I digress, everybody. As we get into Roki Sasaki, some key points that I want to highlight with each and every one of you are the following. Roki now has met, we have seen 20 teams have reached out for Sasaki and his services with recruiting materials such as videos and books. Sasaki, who is very much in charge of this process, asked that all meetings be held at the Wasserman Agency's LA offices. He also asked for no players of the respective teams showing interest in him to show up. However, teams did in fact show him audio or video messages from potentially players on their active roster. So if, say, it's the Mets, I'd imagine it could be fellow countryman in Kodai Senga Francisco Lindor, newly acquired Juan Soto, just to name a few. If it's the Dodgers, you think of Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto right away for obvious reasons. But Sasaki is currently back there in Japan. He'll be coming back to the States as he may still meet with another team or two and may still hit another city or so. But before we know it, he will start to begin the process of eliminating teams out of the plethora that have showed interest in him. Also, bear in mind that Roki Sasaki, while he has had a plethora of teams showing interest in him, he has not had the same interest in each of those teams. For example, the Philadelphia Phillies sent in an opportunity to try to have essentially a meeting, a sit down with Roki, the way that the Mets and the Yankees had an in-person meeting with Roki Sasaki, in which Roki had the same exact meeting with every single team that he met with, same destination there in LA, and same time frame of under 2 hours that we saw there. He did not give the Philadelphia Phillies an opportunity to meet him in person. So just goes to show that, yes, even with teams that say have good rosters on paper, have a desirable team in general and a win-now stage to go to, does not necessarily mean that that is what Roki is looking for most. He's prioritizing teams that can develop him at his absolute best, and teams that are going to give him the best opportunity to win consistently. The Mets certainly helped check off a lot of boxes there. Do they check off enough? That is the great question. But what has been a question, and what has been something that's kind of deterred Mets fans from having any optimism and Sasaki coming to the Mets, has been simply, oh, the guy clearly has this West Coast bias, or oh, this guy clearly wants to be part of a smaller market organization. When asked and followed up with that today, we saw from his agent today himself, that being Joe Wolf, state the following, that is not true. He goes on to say on record the following, everybody: market size isn't a factor either way. Wolf said on Monday evening in a text message when asked to follow up on specifically what he relayed pardon me, everybody, a couple weeks ago, back when he stated how a smaller market team could benefit him, given how much the media was a thorn in his side and was a problem for him during his time in Japan in the MPB. As we know, the media had a kind of went scorched earth at him. He was not able to handle the media and the criticism well, and that went in hand with why Joe Wolf initially made that statement. But after having time to really let things marinate and have more one-on-one talk with Sasaki, something that Joel hadn't previously done much at all, especially throughout the course of the year in the MPB, he comes to find out that, yeah, destination, there isn't really a preference at all here. So that certainly bodes well for teams like the Mets and the Yankees in their continued pursuit here for Roki. You see the numbers down below. We all know how dominant the kid is. He throws absolute gas, touching 100. The velocity fluctuated a lot this past year, but that went in hand with him still getting adjusted to the professional level of baseball there in the MPB. He won gold a year and a half ago that we saw there with Team Japan over Team USA in Miami of the World Baseball Classic, and Roki would undoubtedly be a tremendous get for any team that has the luxury of acquiring him. In the case of the Mets, things that they have in their favor that we've highlighted has been that pitching lab, has been a team on the up, and ability and willingness to spend comfortably and handsomely each and every year to better the ball club for the better. Consistent pursuit of player development better than what we saw in years past. That's where Chris Gross and Andy Green, the recent hires under the David Stern staff from a year plus ago, come in handy. We look at the continued pursuit of Steve Cohen, making this team a perennial winner, a perennial contender to be a winner for a World Series championship, and also have a proper balance of not only the talent on the field and the farm upcoming, and also having the best option for Sasaki to thrive potentially as a frontman in this rotation in a way that he wouldn't be a frontman in any other rotation per se. Not to put all the spotlight on him right away, but if he wants a spotlight, if he wants to accept it, and if he wants to be a face of a rotation, Sasaki will be able to do that in ways that he would not be able to the same degree in the media aspect, and certainly there in just the normal public eye when looking at the Yankees, when looking at the Dodgers, and when looking at some other bigger market teams going out of their way to try to land Roki and his services this offseason. But to expand further here, everybody, just some more notes here, some key updates on Roki. We hear that Wolf does not expect that Sasaki will sign right around his posting date there of January 15th, but he does expect it to be pretty much within that week's time frame of January 15th to January 23rd, which is the deadline day for Roki to sign. If Roki does not sign with a team by January 23rd, then he can defer going back to the MPB. He will not be able to play in the MLB for the 2025 season, but he has more than enough suitors. He has a lot of teams rolling out the red carpet for him as we speak, and for a lot of large reasons. He's 22 years of age. He's 3 years younger than Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He has tremendous upside. He has higher upside than Yamamoto. He has longevity in which he could be a frontman for your rotation. We're talking literally over a decade is how good Sasaki Sasaki is and how talented and how long he can be dominating at the major league level. Literally, Roki Sasaki at the age of 22, 23 can easily be in the Mets, Dodgers, what have you rotation for the next 10 plus years. And he will still be at a comfortable age where those teams may still want him after those 10 plus years. That is just how talented Sasaki is and how well he's expected to project there at the major league level, even if he goes through some highs and lows, significant ones at that, at the MLB level here to begin his career in 2025. And he also said that Wolf said that Sasaki is driven to the best and is prioritizing teams whose pitching programs will make him better. That's where the Mets have an advantage, maybe not the most superior advantage, because maybe Yu Darvish and the Padres are still more appealing. Maybe the Dodgers and Otani, Yamamoto, and their great pitching lab that's been doing great things for a number of years. And honestly, something that I want to touch on further just for a second, everybody, there's been this misconception out there I've seen from some Mets fans saying, oh, the Dodgers don't have a pitching lab. Oh, look at their rotation. They haven't developed anything. Guys, the pitching lab is exactly what we saw with Sevy and Manaea last year. You should know better, Mets fans. It's not about necessarily developing guys from this point of them being drafted as it is to develop them in general, especially if they've had down years or they haven't really done much at the MLB level, and then you help them really blossom into something great. That's where the Dodgers come into play. They have done that with numerous bullpen pieces each and every year. They have a lot of great in-house talents on the rotation front that they drafted or have acquired, have been prospects for them for a number of years, but they've dealt with just a plethora of injuries, and it's going to be really fascinating to see how deep that Dodger rotation is next season there for LA. But I'm getting on a tangent here, everybody. Simply put, Roki Sasaki, things are looking encouraging and things are looking upward on that front there, folks. And we see further from Joe Wolf, courtesy of Jesse Rogers, that he's the guy that wants to be great. He's not coming here just to be rich. He wants to be the one of the greats ever. I see that now, and he's articulate, and he's articulated it to be that. He knows he has to challenge himself. And listen, if Roki knows he has to challenge himself, he knows he probably needs to go to a big market, and he knows that a team like the Mets can certainly be a way of him challenging himself far greater than what the challenge would be with the LA Dodgers. I don't want to hear any nonsense on, oh, he'd have a bigger uphill climb when it comes to just adversity in general and overcoming media, as well as to front man a rotation where he'd be your 3-4 right away for LA, which would be the case of the Dodgers. Not the same circumstances at all. Tim Haley, who covers the Mets of Newsday, does a great job, states the following: Roki Sasaki's back in Japan right now and might want to visit one or two other cities as he tries to finalize a decision-making process, his agent Joel Wolf says, and I quote, he is definitely driving the ship and calling the shots, says Joel. Okay, good to know here on Roki, everybody. Let me know your continued thoughts on Sasaki and how optimistic or pessimistic you feel about the Mets and their chances of landing him this offseason. Now let's get into a man that I've talked about endlessly and will continue to do so, and Alex Bregman. But before we touch a bit more on Alex Bregman, everybody, let's just hear a quick word from our amazing sponsor here at BetUS that has you covered with all your sports betting needs. Because folks, head over to betus.com.pa today and use Wardy's promo code YouTube150. That way YouTube will get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, $125 on your second and your third, up to $2,000 for whatever you want to bet on. And folks, we're hammering our two-leg parlay tonight. I'm not hammering my New York Knicks because I already did that already, and I've been so happy to see how my Knicks have been playing. 7 straight wins. I'm actually going to double check right now to see how they're handling the Wizards, and they're currently up 109-95 with 7:30 remaining in the fourth. So very happy to see that as well. But outside my Knicks, I'm going to also bet on, here we have the Denver Nuggets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's going to be a two-leg parlay, everybody, that we're going to have 20 to win 23. So hopefully a $43, $44 payout should both these teams win outright. Feel free to tail these bets, everybody, but there will be a short turnaround by the time this video is uploaded, so most of you won't. That's okay, though. Again, thank you guys so much for the endless support, and thank you so much for checking out our amazing sponsor at BetUS. Bet responsibly, folks, but make sure you do it here with our amazing friends at BetUS. Now, to hop back into this one, everybody, let's get into the latest here on Alex Bregman, because we see from Chris Cotillo, who does a fantastic job on the beat for the Boston Red Sox. He states the following: despite having discussed despite having discussed him in different packages this winter, Craig Breslow, the GM of the Red Sox, says the Red Sox are not shopping Tristan Casas. Now, this is where things get fascinating. We highlighted it in our live show last night. Check it out, everybody, in case you didn't get a chance to do so already, because we highlighted all the latest in Mets land on everyone that they're currently targeting, including their in-house options that could potentially return, and Alonso and Jesse Winker, among others. But now, as we get into Alex Bregman, we talked about how the Toronto Blue Jays feel like one of the few teams that could really throw a long shot of a desperate 6-7 year deal to try to bring in Bregman just for the sake of being competent and competitive still in 2025. The Red Sox, who feel like they check off plenty boxes for Bregman and for themselves, where he'd bode really well there at Fenway, where the offense, I think, would transition very well from Minute Maid there to Boston, a place that he knows very well during his many constant battles against the Red Sox there out of the American League. A multi-time World Series champion, a superior defender, a +9 defender per Fangraphs last year as well, a plus offensive bat with 26 home runs, the same amount of home runs that he would have had if he batted every single game in Citi Field last year. Just some food for thought there, folks. But the Red Sox, they're not going to trade Tristan Casas. That means they're not shifting Rafi Devers to first base, which means that they're likely going to roll with Rafi Devers at third and their second base options, what they currently are now heading into 2025. Is there a world where the Red Sox could still sign Alex Bregman and then change things, right? Is this for certain that Casas won't be traded? No, I don't think it's for certain, but I think it's telling. If they're going out of their way, Breslow's going out of his way in the public eye to say that we're not shopping Casas, and that's because they're not actively shopping him, and they haven't found a suitor that's been willing to give up the key prospect capital that they look for to give up a young, coveted, controllable talent like Tristan Casas. Then that would give you the ability to shift Rafi Devers to first base and an open hole there for Bregman at third base. But for Alex Bregman, you really think the Red Sox are going to go out of their way and spend, say, $200 million or north of $200 million on an Alex Bregman to then play second base? I find that very hard to believe, and I think a lot of people in the industry do as well. So, barring changes, there are now limited teams in the market for Bregman. I won't say the Red Sox are out of it, but I'd say the optimism level is far decreased after hearing this further news from Breslow, in my humble opinion, and the opinions of many. So now, as we have the Toronto Blue Jays, the Detroit Tigers, even after landing Gleyber Torres, you never know exactly how done they're going to be or not. They're not close to a deal reportedly at this point in time, even though Carlos Baerga may say otherwise. Baerga has really swung and missed on plenty this offseason. We've seen, unfortunately, it happens when you have sources, but you don't have endless sources and you're not always credible. Those things go in hand. But outside the Toronto Blue Jays and the Detroit Tigers, there really isn't much out there other than the Mets just kind of saying, hi, we're here. And even though Robert Murray, who does a very strong job of covering MLB through Fansided, easily the most reputable person to come out of that site and anything having to do with them, he has noted that he hasn't heard much on the Mets Bregman front, but there have been more reputable and more credible people that have noted that, yes, the Mets have continued to show a pursuit of Alex Bregman at this point, as has been the case with Pete Alonso too. And we know that for the case of Bregman, everybody, and the Mets can find themselves in a position where they land both Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso this offseason. We're absolutely ecstatic. Now, I understand the pessimism behind Bregman, because say you don't want at all a semi-long-term commitment at third base if you invest 5-6 years in Bregman, but who's not to say that a team like the Mets especially, if they front-load a contract of high AAV while presenting opt-outs after the first and or second year of Bregman, similarly to what they'd be doing for Alonso, is that something that could be appealing for Alex, if those are player options as well. But he knows that if he has a massive year, a deep playoff run with the Mets in, say, 2025, he can look and seek a longer-term contract of, say, $250+ million instead of, say, settling right around north of $200 million, what the current market is looking like for him and his services right now. I really wonder that. I'm really, really curious to see how this is all going to pan out for the case of Alex Bregman, as the Mets have shown that continued pursuit there. They've shown a continued pursuit to want to land two bats. Now, as I said earlier, out of those four options, in which two of them can be a duo, obviously, I think the Mets are going to bring back Alonso and bring back Winker. I think those are the inevitable moves happening for them. But if they bring in a Santander and or Bregman, I'm not at all complaining, but you have to wonder in the case of Bregman and the complexion here, is Bregman a greater reality if they really allow Alonso to walk? Or is Bregman just as strong of one with Brady Alonso in? I'm led to believe the latter, but we still have to find more information as it comes out in the coming days as we inch oh so close to not only the new year, just a day away now, everybody, but ultimately the Mets, as they have a plethora of moves to still make this offseason, thanks to David Stearns and everything else that they have cooking here over the next month in January, folks. So everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on the latest with Alex Bregman's market, where the Mets currently stand. Do you like it? Do you not like it? In the case of Alonso, how do you feel about his market, where things stand as well, on top of Roki Sasaki and everything else that we highlighted? And folks, if I do not see you until after the new year, which we may have content out, so be on the lookout for it still, I hope you all have a tremendous happy new year. Hope everyone celebrates responsibly and has a safe and fantastic time in doing so. And as we head into 2025, we not only have the Juan Soto giveaway coming, but we have this channel that's set to hit new heights greater than ever before, as we're going to do some things oh so special here in 2025 covering the New York Mets. So excited for you to be a part of it. Thank you guys again for the support. And as always, no matter what, let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.